Assalamualaikum everyone, my name is Dr. Zulekha Halai. I am a house officer or an intern, whatever you like to call it, working in Pakistan in Ziauddin Hospital in Karachi. Housejob is essentially your first year of working as a doctor, and it's a year where you learn how to treat medicine as a profession, as a job. You're basically becoming an adult at this point. This is your transition period, and this is designed to help you learn how to function in a hospital. Don't worry if you don't know anything, because honestly nobody expects you to know anything, but they do expect a lot from you. When I say people don't expect you to know anything but they expect a lot from you, I mean people are going to expect you to just know everything when they've only explained it to you once. This is called a pressure tactic. Don't fall into it. You can't learn something when you've only been taught this once. Take your time. I don't care if your seniors yell at you or whatever. Let them yell. You have to learn things, and you have to learn them the right way. There's a lot of gray areas, and you need to keep checking to make sure you're doing this correctly. If you have to bug your seniors a lot during the first few days, it's fine. They're supposed to help you, because your mistake can cost lives. It took me about a month to properly settle into Housejob, even though my seniors had started giving me a hard time at week 1. Oh my god, it's been a week, how do you not know this already? At the time I thought I was slow. It's not like that. You can't really learn everything in a week. You can learn the systems, yes, but since it's so much information all at once, you sometimes forget even the simplest of things, and that's completely okay. You might even be doing this at 5 months of clerkship. It's completely alright. It happens. This is a learning phase. There's a reason why you're not a consultant at the end of your 5 years. There's a reason you're an intern. Housejob is a bit daunting at first, but that's because everybody makes it so. Remember, you didn't pass all of those med school exams for nothing. You're a doctor whether anybody likes it or not. You're here and nobody's going to make you leave. Just chill, do your job. Try to learn as much as you can. If you don't learn something today, try to learn it tomorrow. You're here for a year, stick it out, aram se sab kuch ho jayega. The way your rotations in Housejob are divided is, it's 1 year, 6 months of surgery, 6 months of medicine. In surgery, you have surgery and allied, which is 3 months of general surgery. This is mandatory for everyone, and then you can choose an allied field. I chose obs and gynae. Some people chose ortho, people chose ENT, people chose neurosurgery. It is up to you. For the medicine part, you have to do general medicine. It's mandatory. Okay, and then I chose 3 months of pediatrics. Calls, for night calls, night duties, night shifts. These are basically 30 to 36 hour calls where you stay in the hospital overnight. So in our setup, it is 30 hours. We come at 8 a.m. and then we leave at 2 p.m. the next day. That's a total of 30 hours. I do know there are setups where this is 36 hours as well. I'm just glad it's 30 hours for us, honestly, because at the end of the day, you do get bragging rights, but I just want my right to live, man. I don't care about bragging. Oh my god, I work 30 hours shifts, or I work 36 hours. I really don't care. I just want to go home and sleep, man. How much do you get paid for Housejob? Not enough. Not nearly enough. How often do we have calls? In most departments, it is 1 in 4, which means I have today. I'm not on call. I'm not on call today either. Then I'm on call, and then I'm post-call, and then the cycle repeats. So yeah, so pre-call 1, pre-call 2, call, post-call. But we have this system in obs and gynae where it's every 3rd day call. So pre-call, call, post-call, pre-call, call, post-call, pre-call, call, post-call. It gets really exhausting sometimes, because beach mein we have days where we have evenings too. So we come at 12 and go at 7. And it can get really exhausting and leave you with no social life whatsoever. Obs and gynae is only 3 months, and this only happens in obs and gynae. So my timings in Housejob are 8 to 4 in my campus, which is Clifton. In Kimari and North, I think it is 8:30 to 4:30. With obs and gynae, you have 8:30 to 2:30, the days that you're not on call. And the days that you're on call, it is 8:30 to 2 the next day. But with obs and gynae, you also have every 3rd day call instead of every 4th day call. So they're a little more relaxed on days that you don't have call. How many days off can we take? We can take around 10 days off in 6 months. So it's a total of 20 paid leaves for the year. But you have to give genuine reasons because it's really hard to get those leaves approved. If you have a genuine reason, then you can get even more than 20 paid leaves. You will have to complete a deficit at the end of the year. Let's say you took 27 days of leave. That means that your 20 days are covered, and then 7 days is extra that you're going to have to come in at the end of your house job and do another 7 days, so that you sort of make up for that. Is doing house job in a private setup worth it? I'm doing it in a private setup. I think it's worth it because of the protocols that I've learned over here. I think it's made me very disciplined. Did I get a lot of hands-on exposure? I wouldn't necessarily say so. Did I get to practice my skills? Hell yes. We're not supposed to do skills over here. That's something that the staff does. But if you want to learn, you can do all of them. You can do NGs, police catheterization, IV blood sampling. You can do all of these things. You will have to tell staff that you want to practice these. They will happily accommodate you if you're nice enough about it. You get to do stuff, you just have to ask for it. So ask. I did not get to scrub in a lot in general surgery, and I was very upset about that. I get to scrub in a lot in gynae cases. I don't particularly care about the general surgery not scrubbing in part anymore because I've made peace with it. I have a lot of previous experience and I will get a lot of experience again in my life, inshallah. 3 months of house job is nothing when I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. I did learn the proper protocols and how to approach a patient. That is something that will stay with me for a very long time. So I don't regret my decision anymore. At the time I did regret it because I wasn't getting to do all of these cool surgeries, but now I don't anymore. Also, the times that I did get to scrub in were very cool. This one time I stitched up a patient's forehead at 4 a.m. in the night. It was so amazing. We took him to the operation theater because it was a very deep laceration and it was plastic surgery. It was fantastic. I stayed up all night that night. It was amazing. That's one good memory that I wouldn't have had if I wasn't in this hospital. So, you know, I'm not complaining about anything. If you are taking exams abroad, you're going to have to study for them. You might want to pick the chillest house job you possibly can. I know Kimari campus is pretty chill in terms of that. Yes, they have terrible calls. I agree with that. But other than that, they do have good days as well. With Clifton campus, it's a very busy campus. I'm not sure if you can or cannot study over here. I personally, if I had to study in general surgery, I would not have been able to. In obs and gynae, I might be able to get a few hours every now and then. Again, obs and gynae is super unpredictable. I know some people in medicine who are studying, but they have terrible calls too. So, you know, Clifton campus is generally tough. If your parent institute is AKU, I'm not sure if you're going to get time to study because I've heard their house job is really hectic. Honestly, it depends on you and how much time you can utilize, because I know people who have had lots of free time, but since they're on call and they are going to be disturbed at any point in time, they cannot study. I do know people who are making the most of their 15-minute breaks and they do like questions and stuff. Really, you know, it depends on you. But some house jobs are just tough. Like, I would recommend some space between your house job ending and your exam. Can private institute students get a house job in government institutes? Absolutely they can. I personally know a friend who left Ziauddin's house job and he went to JSMU. He's doing paid house job over there. Here's the thing. If you are from a private medical institute, government institutes will not pay you unless you pass their exam. I have a friend, he passed and he's now working over there. He's getting paid way more than me. So, I mean, government is definitely a good option. And yes, you definitely can get government house job. What books should you study for house job? Honestly, don't study anything. I mean, I'm not studying anything. Our institute provides us with an up-to-date account. So if there's anything that I need to look up, I just Google it. I just use up-to-date and read up on it. Yeah, I don't really have time for books because I come home, I'm so exhausted. I sleep it's time for another day. So I don't have a lot of time for formal studying, but if I had to, I would use one of those handbooks, Oxford Handbook of Surgery, Medicine, Pediatrics. Those are really good. Someone also asked me which books to study so that they know how to manage patients. I would not recommend managing patients on your own. See how your residents are managing the patient or how your senior doctors are managing the patient, and then you go and read up about it. Here's the thing, you don't know what comorbids this patient has and you might overlook it. So always ask your seniors before administering any sort of medication. I know someone who started ketorolac on a patient who had gastric ulcers. One of the contraindications for that is gastric ulcers or gastritis. I would also not recommend ordering any test or any radiology before consulting a resident, at least in your first few days. If you do that and the patient can't afford it, that's a huge problem. We live in a country where this is a natural issue. Secondly, don't order things with contrast unless you're absolutely sure, because contrast does affect the kidneys. Some things have certain contraindications. Make sure your patients don't have any of those comorbids that are contraindications to the test or the radiology that you're ordering. Someone asked me how long it takes for you to learn sampling. I learned both IV cannulation and sampling the same way. I sort of did it in 2 steps. I first learned how to do IV sampling, then I graduated from that to IV cannulation. Sampling is done with a very small needle, so it's called a butterfly needle. It's very easy to get into a vein. You try doing that a few times. I think I got it on my 2nd or 3rd try. Once you have an idea with IV sampling, it's easy to do IV cannulations as well. You'll get better with time. The thing with these skills is you have to do it over a certain period of time. You can't just do it on day 1 and then do your next attempt a month later. You have to try at least 3 or 4 times per day. Get a cannula in, get an NG in, get a Foley's catheter in. Jump at every opportunity that you get. The more consistently you do it, the better you get at it, and the less likely you are to forget it. If I so much as let a week go by without doing IV cannulation, I would forget it. Once you've done it for a month or so consistently, you get pretty good at it. Also, the way I learned IV sampling was I went with a phlebotomist. So I would go with the phlebotomist on their rounds and they would explain to me whatever they did, like whatever we were supposed to do before we entered a patient's room. And then I would go in, I would introduce myself, take the sample, then we would put it in whatever top container that you're supposed to put it in. They would collect it and go back to their stations. I would go back to whatever I was doing. They were very nice, they were very accommodating, they helped me out. After I got confident with my IV sampling, then I went to another staff nurse and I asked her to teach me IV cannulation, and she did. They all did. So with NGs and Foley's catheter though, almost every patient who's admitted into surgery, like males, have that. You can always ask staff that, whenever there's a Foley's catheter, just call me and I'll be there. I learned how to pass NG tubes in emergency. So I would go down with my residents whenever they would get a call. I would just stick to them like glue. They would evaluate the patient. If the patient needed an NG, with dressings, we would have like a lot of post-op patients. I would, watch the first few times and then ask to do it myself. By the end, I was doing dressings on my own. Have I met a lot of toxic PGs? Yes and no. See, there's good and bad people everywhere because no place can function without good people. Just find the good people, make sure they like you, they'll take you under your wing, they will stick up for you when things go wrong. And as for the toxic ones, the best way to deal with them is to avoid them. You can't do anything about it. You are a house officer, they are a resident. Consultants need them to do their work. Consultants are obviously going to take their side. It is okay. You're only here for 3 months. You don't have to see their faces again. Ignore them, move on. If they say something negative to you, just laugh it off. If they say something very negative, call them out on it. Tell them don't do this. Set your boundaries. You will learn how to do this with time. I'm telling you this because I went through it. Ho jayega. Also, I've met some disgusting people in Housejob, and then I've met people who have just misunderstood. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Prove that you are trustworthy enough. Maybe those seemingly toxic PGs might not be as toxic as you once thought if you just give them a chance. And maybe those really nice PGs are terrible. So, just keep everyone at arm's length if you can. Just for the first few months, like, get to know them, then do trust them. Of course, you need people you're gonna trust in house job, but you know, just be a little cautious at first. It's very easy to fall into people's traps. How do you handle ridiculous amounts of pressure? First of all, pressure comes from missing out stuff, or whatever you have to do, just write it down on a piece of paper. It just gets so much more organized that way. If that paper gets too dirty, write it on a fresh piece of paper. Do this as many times as you need. Like, you can take 5 minutes to organize your thoughts, because that's going to save you 50 minutes of scrambling. Do take care of these small things. They will pay off in the long run. This is all about the long run. This is a marathon, it's not a race. You're going to get burnt out in the first hour of your shift, and then what are you going to do for the next 29 hours? Take 1 hour to get organized, 29 hours to go. I used to write it down on pieces of paper like this. So this is basically the room number, whatever I needed to do on that day. 4014B, that's a room. Asked peds about their potassium replacement. They were allowed sips of water that day. They were going to be discharged in the evening, so I had to check if their discharge summary was made. I had to see if their abdominal binder was applied. I had to see if their diet was converted to soft or not. I had to make sure to turn their fluids down. And then I also wrote down their diagnosis. So they had empyema of the gallbladder. These are just things that I wrote down to make it easier for me to write up their follow-up notes. In Ziauddin, there is a merit system for your rotation allotment. Choose whatever rotations you want, and if you have the merit number for it, you will get those rotations. My merit number was pretty high up, alhamdulillah, so I got the rotations that I wanted. I want to do orthopedics in the future, but for now I chose obs and gynae because I wanted to have that experience before I do orthopedics for the rest of my life. However you did in your final year exams, that's what determines what your merit is going to be for your house job ward allotment. This is only for Ziauddin, by the way. I do not know about other institutes because I only work here. Thank God. And we're finally down to the last question, which is, does Ziauddin accept people from other institutes for house job? Yes, they will accept you. No, you will not get paid for this house job. I get paid. Very less, but I do get paid. If you think it is worth doing an unpaid house job, definitely go for it. This is a good institute. When you start your house job and when you're doing your house job over here, you're going to think this is a complete waste of your time. But in the long run, I think this is a good house job. I don't regret being here. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I had to say. If you like this video, please do like, share, and let me know in the comments if you found this helpful, because it took me a really long time to make. I've been sitting here since 9:30 and it is now 1 a.m. actually, and I'm on call tomorrow. So yeah, let me know if there's anything else that you need answered, and I'll be sure to make a video on it in the future. Subscribe, follow me on Instagram. I'm way more active there than I'm over here, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. You lived through house job. You got this. Okay? Bye.